Power Rangers Next Horizons. Chapter 2. From Karma Pizza Delivery Man to Power Ranger. Freddy cycled as fast as he could, flying down the streets of the city. He worked for Karma Pizza as a delivery man. He cycled as fast as he possibly could, as fast as his legs would let him, and the pizza boxes stacked in the delivery bag, which was strapped to his back. He came to a sudden halt, and then he jumped off the bike and leant it against a building wall. He walked in and ran up the stairs. He came to the apartment block often and knew the elevator was out of order. He then ran up the several flights of stairs until he reached apartment 39B and he knocked on the door. The door opened and a tall, lanky man stood there with money in hand.
"Hey there, Doc. Got your pizzas,"
Freddy said for a lack of breath. "Hello, Freddy. Yes, you're on time," the man replied.
"Gotta be on time for one of our regulars."
Freddy chuckled as he pulled out the stack of pizzas from the bag and handed them to the man. "One cheese, one meat loaded, one cheese with olives, one cheese without olives, and a garlic dip?" the man asked.
Yes, and yes.
Freddy replied, pulling out a small tub of garlic dip and placing it on top of the pile of boxes that the man was holding. "Thank you. This is yours," the man said, handing him the money.
Thank you. And I'm sure I'll be seeing you soon, Doc.
Freddy said with a grin. Then he walked away and headed down the multiple flights of stairs while stuffing the money into his pocket. "That's Dr. Cooper to you," the man yelled, and he closed the door to his apartment. Freddy headed outside and went to go grab his bicycle when he realised it wasn't there.
Seriously? Who the hell steals a bike these days?
Freddy grunted. He then started making a slow, depressing walk back to the pizzeria. He took the high road as it was less bendy. He kept walking until something caught his attention. A bunch of people running away from something. It was down the main road. They were screaming and running in complete fear. He decided to sprint down the stone steps and head towards the source of the commotion. He didn't even know why he was running towards it and not away from it. Something in his gut made him do it. Like he was on autopilot. He wanted to protect people. He came to a halt when he saw a group of strange-looking monsters, and he realised that growing up with the Power Rangers and the X-Men, the Avengers, the Kamen Riders, of course he was stupid standing where he was, and it's not like he was able to fight these random-looking foot soldiers. His hands started to shake. He was now scared. He swallowed hard and he looked around. No one was there to save him. No ranger, no rider, no mutant, no costumed hero. He needed to keep the soldiers distracted until help arrived. So he decided to run into the group. The foot soldiers had a jester theme to them. They were half dark pink and half black, with odd white heads. Their eyes were hollowed out like they were wearing a mask. The rest of their face was painted like a jester would. They all bounced in unison. Freddy jumped in and threw a punch, smacking one of them in the face. One of the jesters then kicked Freddy in the stomach, which knocked the wind out of him. He stumbled back and then he raised his arms up to block the incoming punch. Freddy then threw a kick out, but missed absolutely terribly. He then started regretting his decision to taking on these jesters. He was then hit in the back, knocking him to the ground. Several jesters jumped on top of him and started stamping their feet and slamming their fists into him.
"Get off me!" Freddy
roared. Then suddenly, a surge of purple energy exploded from his body, taking the form of a wolf, similar to that of the Purple Wolf Jungle Fury Ranger's wolf spirit. The wolf spirit pushed the jesters off of him and slashed a few more times with its claws, and then it faded away. Freddy jumped to his feet and he stared down at his hands in disbelief.
I have the wolf spirit? That's crazy. I must be going insane, right?
Freddy gasped. His attention to his new animal spirit was broken as the jesters found their footing and they circled him once again. He dropped into what he thought was a fighting stance, but he soon realised that he looked like what happens when a 5-year-old gets to play with a mannequin in the clothing store. He stood there and threw a punch, smacking the jester who made an advancement. Then he threw out a kick and kicked the jester in the chest, throwing it off its feet. He blocked an incoming strike and he went to block a kick but missed his chance to block it, and the jester managed to trip him up. And once again he slammed onto the ground. "How about some help?" someone called out. He looked up and saw a guy stood on top of the street lamp. He wore a white uniform and he looked down at Freddy.
"Who are you?"
Freddy grunted as he stood up. "Again, someone who can help." the stranger replied. He jumped off the street lamp, landing in the middle of the jesters. He kicked out his foot, booting one of them in the back. Then he grabbed an incoming fist of another. He then grabbed it by its arm as well and spun it around. He let go and the jester stumbled into its fellow jesters. He ducked down, dodging a punch, and then jabbed the jester in the stomach. He then threw an uppercut, knocking the jester a few feet into the air before it slammed onto the ground. Then the stranger backtracked, making it so he was stood next to Freddy. Call me Winston, the stranger said.
You can call me Freddy.
Freddy said awkwardly. I know who you are, Freddy. I came to give you this. Winston grinned. He unzipped his jacket and pulled something out of the inner pocket. He then handed it to Freddy. Freddy took it and looked down at the Power Ranger morpher in his hands.
Holy macaroni. It's a morpher. But I can't be a ranger. Can I?
Freddy asked. Look, the funny knots are here and they're deadly to those who aren't suited up. So I'm going in and you have the wolf spirit so you can use it. It is attuned, the morpher I meant, to the animal spirit. I don't know much about that specific type of morpher, so I'll let you figure it out, Winston said. Winston then took a step forward and he crossed his wrists and pressed his chronomorpher. Time Force, Winston called out. Then in a flash of red light, he morphed into the Red Time Force Ranger. The Red Ranger ran into the crowd of jesters and started fighting them. Freddy looked down at his morpher and he strapped it to his wrist. He then ran his fingers over the wolf-like shape and suddenly there was a flash of light and Freddy stood in a forest. He looked around and found a man in purple stood before him. Hello, Freddy. Welcome to the spiritual plane. My name's RJ, the man said.
I'm sorry. What's going on?
Freddy asked, confused. I don't have a lot of time. Let me explain. I was the first Purple Jungle Fury Ranger. I also had the Wolf Spirit, and that is my morpher. From my time. Seemed like it's time for you to duel my ranger abilities and stop the bad guys. So to speak. RJ told him.
I don't think I could do that.
Freddy muttered. Freddy, it's not what we feel. Or how we make others feel. It's not about the people we meet or what we experience. It's what we do in the important moments that define us. RJ stated. Freddy knew he was right. He took a deep breath in and exhaled slowly.
I want to try.
Freddy nodded. Then RJ smiled at him and gave him a little nod of the head. Then there was another flash and Freddy was back on the road. The Red Time Force Ranger was fighting the jesters. Freddy swallowed hard and then he flipped open the morpher, struck the side of it and threw his hands out in a quick jabs. Then he raised up one knee.
Jungle Beast, Spirit Unleashed!
Freddy called out. Then the spirit of the wolf erupted out of him and surged through him. There was a flash of purple, and then he stood there as the Purple Jungle Fury Power Ranger. The Purple Ranger ran into the crowd of jesters, and he threw out two jabs, smacking into the chest of one of the jesters. Before spinning around and swiping his foot across the head of another jester, he backflipped, kicking the chin of another jester. He then threw a punch as the jester was in midair. One jester threw a punch at him. He managed to catch it and jab the jester in the ribs and the head, and then he pulled the jester over the shoulder, flipping the jester onto his back. The Red Ranger let out a slight chuckle as he triple kicked the jester, watching the Purple Ranger advance in the fight. The jesters all stopped fighting and faded into the floor, like shadows moulding into the concrete, disappearing from sight. Both Rangers stood there for a moment, victorious, or so it felt like. Then they demorphed.
I did it! Yes! I cannot believe I just won! I became a Power Ranger and won!
Freddy called out with a cheer. Yes, you did. And now I must ask you a favour, Freddy, Winston said. He walked up to him and his arms behind his back like some general or commander from the military.
And that would be what exactly?
Freddy asked, concerned. There's an evil psychopath from the future, my future, and he has gathered an army of thugs, lowlives and nightmarish beings. They want to ruin this time period, because if they do, it will cause a massive change in my future, Winston stated.
Oh man, I am so in!
Freddy said with a grin, throwing his fist into his palm. Winston did not ask him again, even though he was so quick to agree. Instead, he took him in his base of operations. Freddy sat there and listened to Winston as he explained everything. The big bad was an old friend that he grew up with and eventually hated. They accidentally ended up in a time storm which zapped them into the current year, but Winston ended up turning up a few months later than his old friend. So he used the morphers that were stolen to build himself a team, and his first recruit was Freddy. If this is too much, I completely understand, Winston stated.
Insane nutcase from the future, trying to rid the world in the future by wreaking havoc in the past, which currently the present, all as a vendetta against you. Seems pretty easy to keep up with so far.
Freddy said with a chuckle. I'm glad you're willing to aid me, Winston said with a small smile. Freddy looked down at the morph on his wrist.
My dad once saw this guy running into an alleyway. He was carrying pizzas. And then a few seconds later, Spider-Man came swinging out with those pizzas. My old man became convinced Spider-Man was not a hero, but a fraud, stealing his way into the hearts of those stupid enough to believe him a hero. But I knew better. I knew that the Rangers, Riders, and heroes were the good ones. So when I was old enough to prove it, I got a job delivering pizzas. And I'm still waiting for Spider-Man to nick one of mine. One of my deliveries, exactly. My point is, I believe in the good fight. And if this wacko wants to ruin things, you gave me this for a reason. I will help you. I got you, man.
Freddy told him. Winston stood there and nodded at Freddy, with a slight grin. He then walked over to his computer and started talking strategies with Freddy.
What you have just listened to is a product created by the Three Ranger Bros Studio.
Hosted by three cosplaying fathers who
happen to be massive geeks of all sorts of fandoms.
They are Mark, the Red Cornish Ranger,
Cosplay Dude 637,
and Tai Tiger.
The studio covers different types of YouTube videos, TikToks, podcasts, and live streams.
If you wish to find out who cosplays who, the YouTube channels, the TikTok accounts, and the podcasts, and all of the other social media platforms,
please go to the 3rangerBroStudios.com.